Here's the brief news from the world over this week. It was another incredible topsy-turvy week in the race for president, a day after Donald Trump dominated the headlines and the primaries in 5 northeastern states. Ted Cruz chose former presidential candidate Carly Fiorina as his running presidential mate, or vice presidential mate. The bold move, or desperate measure, as some have called it, was an attempt to upstage the momentum of the Trump campaign. After Trump's primary sweep on Tuesday, Cruz was in fact mathematically eliminated from being able to secure an outright victory prior to the GOP convention. And on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders is not going quietly into the night after Hillary Clinton bested him in 4 of the 5 primaries on Tuesday. Still flush with cash, Sanders says he will fight on and he's in the campaign to win. However, his national campaign is laying off hundreds of staffers and will focus its attention on getting a big win in California come June. More on this crazy week on the campaign trail in our next segment. And President Barack Obama has vowed to help stop illegal immigration in Europe. During meetings this week with the G5 countries, which also include the UK, Germany, Italy, France, Obama pledged the U.S.'s support in helping Europe with its migration crisis, calling it an economic and security issue that could adversely affect the United States. According to Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi and German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Obama said he was willing to commit NATO assets to blocking the flow of migrants from crossing the Mediterranean into Italy and the Aegean Sea into Greece. And civilian deaths resulting from Boko Haram attacks in Nigeria increased dramatically in 2015, according to a new report by the London-based charitable organization Action on Armed Violence. Fatalities and injuries are up 190% from the previous year. In the same period, the incidence of suicide bombings by the Islamist group rose by 167%. The new figures coincided with a warning by the Nigerian government that Boko Haram has sabotaged crops in rural northeast Nigeria with landmines. Nigeria now ranks 4th in the world for deaths and injuries attributed to explosive weapons, ranking behind Syria, Yemen, and Iraq, but ahead of Afghanistan. More about Nigeria later in the program. And the Islamic State is continuing the destruction of Christian heritage sites across its self-declared caliphate. This week in Mosul, Iraq, the terror group destroyed a landmark church of the Miraculous Virgin, known as the Clock Church, as its clock tower can be seen and its chimes heard for miles. It was razed by explosives after Islamist troops evacuated the surrounding area. The church had already been looted last year. The Clock Church was built in 1873 as a gift to the Dominican friars in Mosul from Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III. Mosul has been under ISIS control since June of 2014. And Chinese President Xi Jinping is warning against nefarious religious influences from abroad. He made the comments at a conference on religions over the weekend in Beijing. Xi insisted that religious groups must submit to the ruling Communist Party's control and stressed that in no way should religions interfere with government administration, judiciary, or education. During the past 2 years, communist authorities have demolished thousands of crosses atop church buildings and destroyed other Christian symbols. Over the weekend, retired Bishop of Hong Kong, Cardinal Joseph Zen, led a protest calling public attention to the persecution of Christians and the imprisonment of their leaders. And we're very sad to report that Harry Wu, a Chinese dissident who endured 19 years of captivity in communist China's Laogai, the forced labor camps, died this week while vacationing in Honduras. Wu led an international campaign to expose the horrors of those camps by founding the Laogai Research Foundation. He appeared on this show several times. He was 79 years old. In a related story, the waters of Rome's famous Trevi fountain flowed red on Thursday. It was a gesture to Christian martyrs and to all persecuted Christians. The international Catholic charity Aid to the Church in Need staged the event at one of Rome's busiest tourist attractions. The group hopes to call attention to the tragedy of anti-Christian persecution and the systematic violation of the rights to religious freedom, especially those of Christians. And they hope that this would create a public debate around this important issue. And the Vatican's financial watchdog reported on Thursday a nearly fourfold increase in the number of suspicious transactions it investigated last year. Remarkably, the Vatican says this is progress. René Brulhart, head of the Vatican's Financial Information Agency, said that the sharp rise in investigations is a sign of tighter scrutiny rather than an increase in questionable activity. The Vatican has beefed up efforts in recent years to flag potential tax cheats who are using the Vatican Bank to hide money. In all, 544 transactions warranted inquiries in 2015. Meanwhile, the Pope made a surprise visit to the Vatican Economic Secretariat on Thursday. This in the wake of a suspended independent audit of the Vatican by American accounting firm Price Waterhouse. Vatican watchers see the move as a sign of opposition to Cardinal George Pell's efforts to reform and make transparent the Vatican's economic practices. And finally, Cardinal Jaime Ortega of Havana, Cuba, retired this week. Pope Francis accepted the 79-year-old cardinal's resignation on Tuesday. Cardinal Ortega was appointed Archbishop of Havana by Pope John Paul II in 1981. During his tenure, he quietly established the Roman Catholic Church as practically the only government-independent institution with any influence on the island. Cuba is 60% Catholic. Ortega oversaw 3 papal visits to the communist nation, and a couple of years ago he played an important role in the reestablishment of diplomatic relations between the United States and Cuba when he carried a Vatican letter to President Barack Obama. Archbishop Juan Garcia Rodriguez has been appointed as the Cardinal's successor. We hope he has a wonderful retirement. He certainly earned it. Finally, I got a fantastic, wonderful video. It's kind of a question from a viewer this week. A reader of my book for young readers, Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls. Watch this.
Hi, Mr. Arroyo. I'm Trinity Went, and I'm a huge fan of your books. I would like to know where you got the inspiration for your book and when your next book is coming out.
Ah, Trinity, thank you for reading Will Wilder's first adventure. The next book in the series premieres in March of 2017. Now, you asked me where I got the inspiration. As some of you who watch the show know, there was a relic that went missing in an Irish church I was visiting in the summer a few years ago, and that was kind of the germ of the idea. The rest of it came from observing kids, talking to a lot of librarians, my own life, and things I encountered along the way. So thank you for the question, Trinity. If you haven't read Will's adventure, I hope you do. The summer is a perfect time to lose yourself in a rollicking adventure. It's been amazing for me to get to know so many of you. And I'm not finished yet. I'll be in Birmingham at the Books A Million in Brookwood on May 11th, signing books, and in Atlanta, Georgia, in Roswell, actually, on May 22nd. All the details are at RaymondArroyo.com, and Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls, is available at the EWTN Religious Catalog and at bookstores everywhere. Don't miss the fun. Adults and kids are enjoying it.